Well, hello and welcome back to GMODISM. We're your host Eric and we're here and we're checking out flamers. Yeah, we're gonna play with fire. We're gonna check the fire mechanics. We're going to check the types of damage dealing whatever using fire and all of that, so you can get into the loop of what's up. This is in the alpha build. If you're in stable, you'll have to wait a little bit more to get it, but you can just go into the Steam and set the game to be alpha version if you want to play around with it. Now, the flamer components are a little bit weird. There is a little bug, so these can be very hard to delete sometimes. So you kind of have to place down the block and then place some other block and then click Ctrl Z and then that way you can remove it. It's weird, whatever, fiddle around or just wait for the hotfix on Monday. Anyways, these are flamers. If you go into the menu here, if you go to build, you can see that down here we have a flamethrowers section. The scary candles are still here. The scary scented candles. Yeah, they still shan't. They'll probably stay away from them. So, when it comes to flames, they work in mysterious ways. So we have a firepower here, and they have fairly high firepower for the size of the system, which is pretty cool. They have flame intensity and oxidizer, and then they have fuel per second. So there's some different metrics. So I know you kind of just want to see it in action, so let's just spawn a marauder, and just flame it a little bit, yeah? And we can see we are having 3 flaming systems here. They have some different settings going on, but whatever. And we're just flaming some different parts of this thing. We're trying to barbecue this marauder. And now you can see when we added this flame here, it continues to burn. I showed this a little bit in a short, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or whatever, when it came out, the preview of the fire mechanic. And yeah, you can see we have started fire here, and because the wood adds fuel to the fire, it continues to burn for a little bit, but it's not like it will burn the entire thing down. It stops, and some materials like stone and metal burn much less well than anything else. So of course the fire, it continues to do some damage after we stopped flaming it, but wow, we'll probably want to keep barbecuing the target for as long as we can. So flamers is a pretty basic system, and I can really see this be used on airplanes. Should be a really great thing for bombing and stuff like that. We're gonna dive into a little bit more details about that, but now you could see it burn a little bit. Let's see if we can set fire to the cram components here. Somebody said they were really flammable, but I think they were maybe a while ago. In the earlier stages, the flame preview build or whatever some people had access to, I think the flames was kind of a lot unbalanced or whatever. Now it's a little bit more sensible. You see, this is a decently properly large system. Well, anyways, so we need to be a little bit technical here, and I will try to explain how it works in the most simple way possible. And also remember, stuff is up for change, but I won't give you too specific numbers, so it's probably not going to be irrelevant what I'm telling you now. Anyways, so if we go into build menu here, you can see we go to blocks, and you can see we have a flammability. So this is 80% flammability and a 10% fire resistance. You can see stone have fire resistance of 50. We have lightweight, the alloy is at 50, metal is at 40. So you can see that stone and alloy is a little bit more fire resistant, but stone doesn't have any flammability. Basically, when this block gets set on fire, it won't add any materials to the fire, so it won't help it progress burning. And the same thing with the regular metal blocks, it won't help it continue burning for some reason. Alloy, however, even though it has more fire resistance than metal here, you can see that it has some flammability. So when you get alloy to burn, it actually adds some fuel to the fire. So the different blocks have different value, and funnily enough, heavy armor is not completely fire resistant. So rubber burns really good. So rubber is the most flammable material. It does have a slight better fire resistance than wood. That's pretty funny if you protect your AI core or whatever. If you can set that shit on fire, you can make the entire AI core just drop out of the compartment. That's pretty cool. Lead doesn't burn either, but has lower resistance here. So now you know, different blocks have some flammability and it has fire resistance. If you check this little flamer here, you can see that we have a flame intensity value here. You can see down in the little like what is the statistics number. We have power use, we have firepower, we have range, outputs, oxidizer, and flame intensity. So if this flame intensity is lower than the fire resistant thing. So here you can see fire resistance 10. If this flame intensity would have been below 10, it wouldn't even be able to set fire to wood. However, the base intensity is 20, so whatever flamer you have, it can always set fire to wood. Where you can see we have a fire resistance of 50 on this alloy block. And this particular flamer has a flame intensity of 40. This means this flamer can't actually set fire on alloy. We need a more intense flamer to do that. So that we're gonna check out how, and that's basically by adding catalyst tanks. So, but just to cover a little bit quickly, you also see we have oxidizers. So now you might be like super confused. What is oxidizer then if the catalyst adds the intensity? And I can actually disconnect the catalyst here. And you can see that the intensity dropped to 20. So here 40, added that back, remove, you can see. So our firepower is much lower when the intensity is lower. So this particular setup could actually set fire to metal, or could actually damage metal rather, because metal doesn't add any fuel. So the main block for a flamer is fuel tanks. Now all the blocks look the same. That's gonna change, of course. But here we can see we have a large fuel tank, and this adds, well, fuel to it. And the fuel is the thing that starts the fire and deals the damage. You need to have some fuel to have a flamer. So basically, we are having how a flamer works. We can look a little bit at this setup. We have a flamer block component here. There are no settings in it right now. And then we have a pipe setup, which can be open in some ends. They are basically just like the exhausts for the fuel engines. And we need to connect it up to a fuel tank. And the fuel tanks can be stacked in long lines. And the fuel tank has to be pressurized from behind. And we can do this using steam. Like that. We can just connect up a steam pipe and some boilers. Just like that. And we have a big pressurizer here. So it's going to be very pressurized. There is also a little block we can do this with, which is one of these. A large compressor. And this compressor adds up to this thing just behind it, and it can pressurize the entire line of fuel tanks. And the same is true for the catalyst tanks. They come in small and medium oxidizer tanks. They all need compressors behind them to like charge up that pressure. If you don't have pressure, you don't have any range and stuff, of course. So the more pressure you have, the better range you have on your flamer. So here, I just to show you, try to add up a little line of fuel stuff, and we have large fuel tanks here on the side, and we have small fuel tanks here. You can see this has a pressure of 10. Pressure of 10, that's the max pressure. And you can see the range is 405 meters, and that's the maximum range right now for flamers. And here you can see I added this insanely large pressurizer just for the joke to see if it even works. Here we have a big pressurizer for the shits and giggles, as they say. And you can see we still have a range of 405, so it doesn't matter much. And here we have like one large compressor for 3 tanks. So here you can see we have a pressure of 6.7, right? And if we check here, what's the range? 354. So by having super much pressure, we only gained like 50 meters. So this is not going to be a long range weapon. Yeah, you can probably have some pretty low pressure flamers and they will be as good as a high pressure flamers. But if you want to make high pressure flamers, they will reach a little longer. Yeah, so now we explained the basics here. We have the catalyst, which adds the intensity, which makes it so it's easier to burn materials, and it's possible to burn materials with a higher fire resistance. And the fire resistance you can see here. So if you wanna barbecue some heavy armor and alloy, we need to have more catalysts. Yeah. In any case, here you can see we have a large oxidizer tank. And what is an oxidizer? Well, to get a little technical, an oxidizer, of course, it adds oxygen to the mix. So this is like, oxidizer is a regular part of rocket fuel, because in space there is no air to burn, and then you basically need to bring your oxygen with you. So this is an oxidizer. And what the oxidizer does, adds oxygen with a mix. That means we can actually burn stuff underwater. So to add oxidizer, we can burn stuff underwater. And the good thing with having an oxidizer is that when we set fire to things, their blocks armor piercing, like armor value. So the armor value actually decreases. We can do a little quick check of that. Just gonna have a little thing like that, and we're gonna add a bunch of wood here just to test out. So in the Z menu you can find a debug fire thing. So if you go here, fire setting, now I just set this up completely crazy. Let's set it up to 1000, oxidizer 0, intensity 20. It doesn't. What? Okay, I don't know if it's my keyboard or whatever, but that didn't work. Okay, there we go. So we set this on fire here. You can see we started the fire. If we look here, you can see that our armor class is 7.3 now. Now it's 7. Now it's 6. You can see it's ticking down in the middle of the screen down there. You can see the armor class is ticking down. And now you can see the health has gone under 50%. Now it's 20%, stuff like that. So, and when it has burned up, which happens in like a quick second, it poof, jumps off and the fire spreads to the other blocks. And fire can spread between sub-objects, so you can't add stuff on sub-objects to defend yourself against fire. I've tried. Also, fire can move from one vehicle to another. So if you have a burning plane, maybe make it crash into the enemy, because then you can set fire to the enemy. Anyways, when stuff is burning, see here, when the health of the block has reached below 50%, this block can now burn underwater. So regular blocks don't burn underwater, so it's a good way to kind of defend yourself by having flammable components underwater. So if we just Okay, whatever. If we just build a little thing here. Like that. And we probably need to replace this with some heavy armor here, because that won't burn. Right. So we're going to go into the fire settings. We're gonna make this a little bit stronger. We're gonna just have a little higher intensity value, but not oxidizer. We can start burning, barbecue this thing here. And you can see it doesn't spread to underwater there. Now we had a pretty strong fire, so of course it even burns on this thing, but you can see the health is still 100% here. Didn't add anything. If we have her, we can go down, by the way, to here and try to start the fire here. Yeah, it got put out. If we just add a bunch of oxidizer, let's put it here. Yeah, it burns underwater. So you can basically have a submarine that just, I don't know, barbecues ship from below by having a bunch of oxidizers in it. Yeah, so that's... I hope they add this to space too. It would be cool if flamers didn't work at high altitude and you had to bring your oxidizers to use them in space. I don't know the use scenario when that would even matter, but whatever. Now we can also see we added a bunch of oxidizers here, so you can see that the heavy armor is burning now and it's adding fuel to this fire. So yeah. By having a more intense and with oxidizer, it damages the blocks here of the heavy armor. So you can make insane flamers that can barbecue like anything, almost, but they are probably gonna be real big too. Anyways, here we have the catalyst not connected, here we have the oxidizer connected like that, and we just mix them up until we have the mix we want. Right now, I think they said it takes 1/4 oxidizer to fuel to use up regular like oxidizer over water, and half of the throughput needs to be oxidizer to burn underwater. Yeah, so that's how it works, they say, and that might be subject to change, but it's basically mix and match the type of flamer you want. But whatever you do, you can't make the flamer have a different like color or whatever. You'll just have the regular go to from blue to yellow, just like that. And that's basically the flame mechanics, the base mechanics. There is more information on the patch notes, of course, but yeah, they need to be pressurized. You only need the fuel tanks, actually. Then you can add oxidizer to burn underwater, burn better, and to also increase the speed of which you are decreasing the enemy's armor-piercing value. So, for example, if you have a sandblaster or something, it could be a great idea to set your target on fire. Because if you have a sandblaster, then you need to use less of your firepower to have armor piercing, since the fire will decrease the armor piercing values of the blocks. And then, of course, catalyst increases the intensity. So we can see that this has a intensity of 20. Now we also have oxidizer, so that's a good way to decrease the armor piercing value. So if we just disconnect this oxidizer here, and we can just try, you can see this is slowly going down, but not very fast. Anyways, we're gonna add some heavy armor here just to test a little bit here. So we can take this and we're going to disconnect these flamers too, because we don't want too many results or too mixed results. Here we can see we're just gonna barbecue this heavy armor piece, and we can see, of course, it got damaged and it has some fire burning on it. But since the fire resistance is higher than this, it's probably going to just be put out by itself, just leaving some damage to it. But flamers is a good way to have a good firepower on small objects that can actually hurt big things. Yeah, it just stopped there at 81% for the most damaged block, I believe. And a clarification, so the intensity of the flame, if the intensity is lower than the block's fire resistance, it deals damage still. It still deals some damage, but the damage dealt is greatly reduced. So that's how it works. The intensity of the flame makes it so that we can damage blocks more effectively that has a high fire resistance. But they won't completely, like if you have a really fire resistant block and a really weak flamer, it's not the case that the flamer will deal absolutely no damage. However, in our test here, of course, no blocks got destroyed, but the heavy armor does have flammability, like it actually adds fuel to the fire if a block is destroyed. Stone does not have that, and it is fire resistant, so we have kind of theorized a little bit ever since we know that flamers are gonna be a thing, or flames are gonna be a thing, that stone will be a new, very important material to kind of protect yourself against fire. And of course, it still takes damage. You can see here, 90%. But it doesn't burn very well, right? Let's see if it how much damage it deals, because of course it has less health. Ooh, and about health, wood actually got a health buff due to the update here, because wood is now flammable. So to kind of keep things more fair, wood blocks have even more health now, which means that they are really the ultimate health points sponge. You can see they only have slightly less health now than stone. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't think that big wooden crafts will be irrelevant just yet. And by the way, why does this even burn if it doesn't have a flammability? Well, of course, because from this flamer, we are actually adding fuel. Like, this fuel gets applied to the surface, and that's how it's continuing to burn. And while it's burning, you can see the armor class values went down from, yeah, like 15 now, and here it's stacked, of course, but 28. Pretty cool. To make it more efficient, we of course should connect up the oxidizer. And now we should probably see some more good results, easier to start the fire here. And it's going to, in a quicker way, reduce this armor class. And we should probably connect up the catalyst tank too, so we can see the full damage this laser does towards stone. And we can, of course, set many areas on fire, and it's completely continuous. If you just check this value here, the pressure is like this. The compressors, by the way, they use engine power, so it's 500 per large compressor. For the small ones, that's not connected, of course, but it's much less. Well, whatever. And you can see if this fuel tank gets destroyed, you can see how much fuel on fuel fire on destruction. 800, intensity 15, 15 for this, 20 for this. So yeah, it's going to be pretty scary if it gets destroyed. And now we can even set fire to the heavy armor here, and we can just continuously blast for how long we want to. We have like infinite juice going on here. We're just adding this, so that's pretty cool. And I was a little bit unsure here. I assumed that material fuel storage tanks are required to fill up these fuel tanks. And this is the case here. Now you can see that I disconnected this, so we don't have any flamers. So we require 0 materials per minute for fuel engines and custom jet engines. If I add it back, we are suddenly needing 2,000. Yeah, so yeah, ooh, fire created when destroyed, 7,700 at 20 intensity. I wonder if fuel tanks are no more volatile now than ammo barrels, because I kinda start to think so. Oh well. We're just gonna add a couple of there. And we're gonna test this out. So we know that this thing will be very scary when they get destroyed, and this thing will be even more scary when they get destroyed. Look at that. We are burning heavy armor. Anyways, let's add a pretty... Oh, by the way, we don't need to do that. We don't need to destroy it by that. We can just do some spot damage. There we go. No, it didn't. Huh. I don't know. I don't see a fire. Okay, that one created a fire. I can't say too much about this yet, because it's like, I don't know if it's working yet. But you can see when we destroy those, oh lord, this is, yeah. I think a lot of old ships and crafts are gonna be a little bit outdated now, because I do think they are going to be very, very, very sad when they accidentally get their fuel boxes destroyed. So by this... I don't remember who, I just glanced at that comment, but someone wrote in our Discord that fuel boxes will be absolutely mandatory to have under the waterline. And that's very true. No more fuel boxes spread out here and there like I have in the Gimle. And about that, you know what starts fires too? Lasers. Lasers starts fires. So we just have to check that out. We're gonna remove that. So now you can actually see a little quick preview of what I'm building for the constabulary for Admiral Scubarox. Selection, we're gonna add one a little bit. So we have a little preview of the ship here I'm building right now. Probably will be for the next episode. But anyways, I just wanted to... We're not gonna check on it too carefully, because I just want to show you the effects of that laser. You can see that? Oh my god, this is a powerful charge laser, by the way. But look at that. Look at that charge laser go. Whoops, yeah, we have some navigational problems. Just a quick little preview. I don't want to show you too much of that ship before we're gonna check it out properly in the constabulary episode, of course. But there you can see charged lasers can be quite dangerous because they will start fires too. However, at the base intensity, but nonetheless, if they get to flammable blocks, they will, yeah, make them burn. So, how are we gonna play with fire now? Well, there is APS modules now. So we can go in here. Now it's a squash head thing. And I already checked, the sabot head does decrease the damage done by fire too. So you can cheat in having sabot heads with incendiary bodies. Incendiary bodies, I mean. I know English. So here we have the incendiary bodies. They look like this little copper tubes or whatever. Here you can see we have, well, this is just preset whatever. This is not the actual gauge of the shell. But here you can see we got the firepower. Where is it? Oh yeah, they need to be a certain size to even be incendiary. I think it's 200. I think it's below, above 200, so you can't have sandblasters shooting incendiary stuff. They need to be at least like 200 millimeters or whatever, so it's only for big boy cannons. Anyways, incendiary fuel, 2000, yeah, whatever. It's not applicable because this is not the actual gauge, but here we have it. There is no nose for it for what I've seen, so I don't know. Let's just have a armor piercing head then, maybe? Probably. Yeah, that's probably absolutely super fine, and it's gonna start damage wherever it like hits. When it destroys that block, it's going to start a fire there. So I guess we should just get a marauder in here, and we're just gonna look at that. Here we can see. It just sets this thing on fire. Yes, very nice. So you need to really use flamers to have that really intensive firepower and stuff like that, but you can see we can slag a couple of rounds at a marauder here with a big cannon, and it can devastate a wooden target pretty quickly. Tiny shells. Most of them miss. So I think that's pretty cool. Don't you want to kind of burn down the crossbones or something? I think that would be pretty cool. So, when the fire is large enough, by the way, if you have like a gigafire, it will kind of put itself out, just so it won't be totally overpowered. And that's why I believe that big wooden crafts is still kind of the way to go. And somebody asked me if I was scared for the Gimla now, if someone makes a new submission and brings some incendiary bullets or whatever. And I don't really would consider myself to be that scared, because, you know, to really barbecue the Gimla, they would have to get in, I don't know, below 400 meters range, and at that point the Gimla's crams, all of them will hit, and that will be more scary. But yeah, maybe they can get an edge if someone gets in some incendiary APS bullets, can start some fire inside a Gimla, could perhaps make it win a little bit faster or something. But yeah, maybe. But I don't think it's such a big deal, actually. But we'll see. Maybe I am wrong. Now this is completely destroyed, so that's very sad. Anyways. But yeah, now we have incendiary, or however you say that, ammunition, so that's pretty cool. Plasma, even though you might think it should deal fire damage, it doesn't deal fire damage. That's just how it is. Particle cannons don't have a fire starting options. Lasers, of course, start fires, as you already saw. But yeah, I think we should go in and do some prefabs here. Get some missiles in here. Let's plonk down these super insane missiles I built for former Captain Scooby Rocks, which is now Admiral Scooby Rocks, with the Fred build. So we're gonna add them here. And inside here we have loads of different components, but instead of that we can have incendiary warheads. Isn't that quite nice? So we're going to add that instead, and here you can see we can have fire intensity, so we can more intensely ignite stuff we can't really change on the APS, to my knowledge. And we also have oxidizer here. So I'm just gonna set these up a little bit quickly. We're gonna have them all be incendiary. This one is gonna have this one is gonna add some oxidizer. Yeah. And this one is gonna be pretty darn intense. Alright, here we go. Now we have 4 missiles which are crazy in different regards. I believe we're going to set this one to God mode, and I think we're going to barbecue this one again. Thank you. Gonna be pretty interesting. Alright, so now we have our incendiary missiles going on here. Ooh! The anti-munition systems is desperately combating our incoming barbecue missiles. And I guess I would have hoped for a little bit more dramatic effect, but that's, you know, that's a pretty some decent damage. Of course, these missiles are designed to hit at long range, so yeah, they only had 2 large incendiary units on them. But you can see here we are having some good, some real good, more intense fire with oxidizer and stuff. So it's burning more. Yeah, we're definitely adding fire here. That's pretty cool though. And yeah, that's all the ways we can start fires. I just want to compare the fire to the other damages in the debug modes, just to kind of get a feeling for how dangerous it is. Perhaps we can get some type of understanding, but we can definitely see that it is definitely a new scary weapon type, and I think that having... Ooh, wow. Do you now realize we can make cluster napalm missiles? That sounds like an instant tutorial to me. That would be the ultimate weapon against the secret advisor slash Korvax all big wooden builds. Yeah, I think we're gonna make incendiary cluster missiles. That's gonna be pretty cool. Incendiary, yeah. Cluster napalm. That sounds cool. In any case, let's spawn the Gimle and test the debug modes of damage and see if the Gimle is really resistant to fire or not. Anyways, I think this looks pretty cool. Maybe we must enjoy some more cinematic shots of this getting hit with basically napalm missiles. Look at that. Yeah, the crossbones is down to 84%, so... The Deepwater God just became a lot weaker as a faction, but they have more health due to the health buff in wood, but yeah. And before I forget that, huge thanks to the commissioned officers in the army of GMODISM who are supporting the channel every month over at Patreon. Admiral Scoobrox, Commodore Owen, Lieutenants Anto, Cravey, Parbag Reed, and Vincent Veritas. Your help really helps me. Anyways, as you know, the Discord update made it so that our decals from Discord doesn't work anymore, so I painstakingly added every decal back as pictures from our Google Drive, and in the Army of GMODISM channel in our Discord, which you will need to be either a commissioned officer or have self-assigned Matros 3rd class in our Discord to be able to see. You have pinned messages with all our decals. I forgot one up here, it seems, but anyways. So you can basically use them. Anyways, I was thinking like this. We have some different damage types, you know? So if we add max to debug damage, what damage will be dealing the most damage? So if you add like an EMP here, I'm thinking we're gonna add an EMP here, and then we're gonna add a max damage on like the base here. We can just check. It barely gotten damaged because I need to turn that off, because I really thought about trying to EMP protect us pretty well. So it shouldn't deal like too much damage, even with the max level. You can see it barely shows. Anyways, we're gonna repair that because I want to compare it to fire, you know. Here we have impact damage, or max, just max that out. Oh man. Right, then we're gonna have one in the front here. Bam, max impact damage. That's a real thump. 97 percentages. And I have a feeling we'll have to wait a lot for... We're gonna have a max explosion. One there. That's a big explosion. Oh, really? Ooh, it didn't start fires, but it started fire from the fuel boxes I had hidden up here. That's scary. You know, when stuff gets destroyed, we're gonna have one on the front there. Like, when stuff gets destroyed, man, even if it doesn't get destroyed by burning, it will start fires. And this fire is continuously burning air a little bit, but that's mostly part of the design, so we're gonna check out 97. Max explosive damage did about the same damage. Now we're gonna go with plasma. Gonna go with the max plasma damage. And it progresses through a little bit there. Now I don't have so dense armor. So the plasma probably did a little less. Yeah, it did at least a percentage less damage. If we do it on something more compact, however, it will of course deal a lot damage with the max plasma damage. And I don't know how well balanced fire is right now, but because I think this goes really high. But we're gonna start a max fire where we started the other damage. So there. Here is a fire. And just to help it a little bit, I'm going to slightly miss the metal here and just hit the wood there, because I feel that probably gives it better chances. I don't know. That burns. Look at that. And now the fuel parts gets, yeah, activated. I kind of want to see it burn a little bit. Let's set fire to one of the turrets here and see how it goes. I think I set fire to it again accidentally because I wanted to switch to the camera. Look at that, man. That's 2 max fires, so this heavy armor here doesn't really have a chance. Man. And it's spreading air. Oh no, the golden hole is burning. And at the front, is the fire still going? No, I think it got too large and put itself out here. Now we started a lot more fires, but it's down to 93%, but I think it's a large part because yeah. So that wasn't a real comparison. Let's do it properly here. 1 there, and 1 there. Now we're just gonna wait. Oh, it's dropping stuff there. And it's slightly unfair because we of course have the fuel tanks up here, which are feeding the fire a bit. And remember, this is debug settings max fire damage. It's not like this is your average incendiary missile coming at us. Just so you don't get your hopes up that the Gimli is super easy to defeat now because of the fire update, because that's not really the case. We're gonna see though. Depends on the submissions how easy folks think it is. Maybe it is easier than I think. And it burns like that, and here's where the fire gets put out. Man, this starts burning though. But already we can see that it's down to 96%, so it dealt a little more damage than the other damage types at max setting, so that's pretty cool. I do suspect it wouldn't have been the case if this has been your average metal alloy block. But yeah, a lot of wood on here. I don't know, I think that's basically that. I think we played with fire a lot today. We checked out the flamers, how to set them up, how they work, the different parameters, that they actually decrease the armor class or whatever they are burning on. good to combine with other stuff. We have incendiary rounds, gonna be really cool to mix in with your other APS to kind of max out the good effects. We have incendiary missiles, which is pretty cool, and of course lasers start fire. So I hope it was useful, and if it was, do leave a like and stay tuned for future videos by subscribing. If you want to help the channel, there are a lot of ways to support the channel outside the army of GMODISM, which is Patreon, and you can find all that on gmodism.com/support. In any case, this is your host GMODISM, and I am officially signing out. Indeed.